there folks, welcome to the channel. I'm glad you could be here. In today's episode, I am extremely delighted to have my friend Drew over at the YouTube channel Swine and Bovine show us how he takes a classic Philly sandwich and turns it into an amazing sausage masterpiece. Take it away, Swine and Bovine.
What's up everybody, it's Drew Wilkins with Swine and Bovine Barbecue, and in this video, we're making a homemade Philly cheesesteak sausage. Let's get going. For those of you not familiar with me, as previously mentioned, Drew Wilkins with Swine and Bovine Barbecue. I'm based in Dallas, Texas, and I cook a lot of Texas style barbecue. Now I love barbecue from all over, Memphis, Carolina, I love it all. But I cook a lot of Texas style barbecue, and that means I cook a lot of brisket, cook a lot of pork ribs. Thus, I end up with a lot of brisket trim and a lot of pork trim. And one of my favorite things about sausage is being able to take that trim and turn it into something that's just as good as a perfectly cooked brisket and a beautiful rack of ribs. And it just so happens that I've got 5 pounds of brisket trim right here that we're gonna use to make a delicious Philly cheesesteak sausage. When I make sausage, I typically follow a 3-day process. Day 1, I'll put on salt and cure. I'll let that go overnight. Then day 2, we'll add the rest of the seasoning, cheese, vegetables when appropriate. Then we'll case it up, let those air dry in the fridge overnight. Then on the 3rd day, we'll cold smoke them, finish them off, and eat them. So this is day 1. We're gonna go on with our salt and cure. So we've got some Diamond Crystal kosher salt here, and the exact ingredients will be in the description down below. Then we've got our pink curing salt, or instant cure number 1. This is what allows us to cold smoke our sausage. That way no botulism or bad bacteria occurs when it's at a non-food safe temp for a long period of time. And now we're just gonna mix this salt and cure all into the meat. You can see all the granules, salt crystals, the pink cure. We wanna mix this to the point to where we can't see any of that anymore. So it just takes a little bit of time. It's not that hard, but we want that to be all evenly distributed over this meat. That way we know every single cube of this brisket trim is evenly coated in our salt and cure. And there we go. After maybe a minute of mixing, you can't see any of the salt granules anymore. Everything is evenly distributed. There's nothing pooling at the bottom. We know that our meat is nice and coated with our salt and cure. So now we're gonna cover our meat up with some plastic wrap and let this hang out in the fridge overnight. Let that salt and cure do its job. It is the following day and we are almost ready to grind our meat, add the rest of our seasonings, and case our sausage. But we're going traditional Philly cheesesteak here, and we need some caramelized onions for our cheesesteak. So let's dice this up. Got our pan nice and hot, so we're gonna lightly caramelize our onions. Our onions are looking right where we want them to be. Deglaze the pan with a little bit of water to make sure they didn't burn, but these are nice and caramelized, so we're gonna pull them off to the side, let them sit for a bit, and then throw them in the fridge once they're cool. Our onions have been in the fridge for a while now. They're nice and cooled off, so it's time to grind our meat. Our grinder parts have been in the freezer for a good bit of time now, probably 5-6 hours. Longer than they need to be. You just need to make sure that they're cold, and our meat has been in the freezer for about an hour. It's not frozen, but if we left it in there for another 30 minutes, it probably would be. We want to get a nice grind on this, and having this meat be super cold is going to ensure that it's pebbly and that we don't smear the fat when it goes through the grinder. I have the 10mm coarse die on this. We're going to dump our meat in the hopper, get a little down the chute, and start grinding. We got the coarse, pebbly grind that we were going for. So now it's time to add our seasonings. And this is a Philly cheesesteak, so we're keeping it simple. Got on with some coarse black pepper and some granulated garlic. We've already got our salt in the meat, so we don't need to add that. So now we're gonna mix this up. I'm just gonna try and get these spices incorporated into this meat. And now that we've got them lightly incorporated, we're gonna go in with our binder, which is some non-fat dried milk powder. Then we're gonna go in with our liquid, which is just some ice cold water. And now we're gonna mix until this is almost fully incorporated. Then we're gonna come back and add our cheese and onions. After about 3 minutes of mixing, we've got a nice tacky sausage. When you pick it up, it sticks to your hand. We're gonna go in with our onions and then our cheese. Cheese Whiz, provolone, white American. That's what you can find on a traditional Philly cheesesteak. I'm going with white American. And now we're gonna get this all incorporated into our farce. And this white American cheese, I just went to the deli counter at my grocery store and asked them to cut me off a 1-pound block. Our cheese and onion is nicely incorporated. Our farce has a great tacky texture. Let's put it in the stuffer. When we put our meat in, we really want to push down on it. We want to avoid any air pockets in our stuffer. So just give it a punch. It'll be good. And now it's time to go on with our casings. Using a 2 guys in a cooler trick, I've got 2 cups of water with half a teaspoon of baking soda. Really makes your casings easy to work with. So thank you, Eric, for that tip. We're gonna get a little water in the casing, get a little water on our horn, help it slide on, and then just slide them on. And these are 28 to 32 millimeter casings. And they've been sitting in that 2 cups of water to baking soda solution for probably about 6 to 8 hours now. You can do it overnight. Got our casing on, so we're gonna get a little bit of our farce to come out the tip. There we go, pull it out, tie it off. And now we're ready to case. And I like to case in 1 long rope. I find it's easier to get consistent link size doing that. I've also got little measurements on my tray here. That way I know how long I need to make a link, so I can put it off when we link it, and you'll see that here in a second. But 1 long rope helps me doing that. So we want to put consistent pressure on the casing, but we don't want to fill it up too much. We want a little bit of play and wiggle room. So just a light pressure on this casing, and we're going to make it into 1 long rope. Quick tip, if you get air bubbles in your casing like I've got right here, just hit it with the back of a knife and they'll go away. We've reached the end of our rope, so we're going to pull off some excess casing here, cut it off. But we're not going to tie it off because we're going to do links. We want room to play when we're linking the sausage, so we're not going to tie off this end just yet. So we've got our long rope. Now it's time to link up our sausage. I've got just little Sharpie marks on the back of this tray right here, so I know how long to make my links. So we'll just get a little bit of this rope. We'll come here, pinch where we know we want the link to be, grab that pinch, come over, find out where we want the next one to be, pinch, and then twist. Twist until it feels as tight as you want it to be. It should be nice and firm. And there you go. We've made 2 links. So now we're going to repeat that process. Come over here, pinch, come down again, pinch, and twist until it's nice and tight. And the number of times you twist can vary just depending on how well you did in stuffing that portion of this long rope. So just do it until it feels nice and tight. So now we're going to keep on doing this until we've got them all linked up. Then on this last one here, try and get as much air out as we can. Try and get it nice and tight, tie it off. And there we go. All our sausage is linked up. And now one thing we want to do is go through and find air pockets. And for that, we have a very specific tool, appropriately named a sausage pricker. Regardless of how careful we are in stuffing the sausage into the casing, there's bound to be air pockets. So what we're going to do is go through, look for them. So you can see one right here. Then we'll just prick it with our pricker. So now we're just going to go through, find any air pockets, and make sure we get rid of them with our pricker. Our sausage are nice and linked up. They've been pricked. So now we've got them spread out on a wire rack, and we're going to put them in the fridge overnight. It's really going to let the casings dry out. It's also going to dry out the interconnectivity between the casings, so we'll be able to go through, snip them, and then put them on the smoker individually tomorrow. But these are going to go in the fridge overnight. Casing's going to dry out. It's going to help it attract smoke when we cold smoke it tomorrow. But until then, these are going to take a nap in the fridge. We'll see you tomorrow. It's the following morning. Our pit is fired up. I just start with a little bit of charcoal and then 1 dense log to get a nice smoky environment. We're going to go for a cold smoke here. It's not going to be a true cold smoke. There will be some heat. It's also going to be about 100 degrees in Dallas today, so it's going to be tough to keep this smoker below 100 degrees. But we're going to try and keep it between 100 and 125 degrees, which will be safe because we put curing salt into our sausage, and then we're going to let our sausage go till it's got the color and smokiness that we want. But for now, we got to cut these into individual links. Now it's time to get them on the pit. I use a wire rack, makes it easy to transport and keeps the sausage from getting too dirty from my grates. We've got these all evenly spread out. We don't want them to touch. It'll prevent the casing from taking on color, smoke, and drying out as well. So we're going to shut this down and let these go for the next several hours till they've got the color that we want. We're about 3 hours into our cold smoke and our sausages are looking great. We're getting some great color on them. We've been fighting the wind a little bit, run into those issues a little bit with an offset smoker. So it's taken a little longer than I would typically like, but these are looking really good. So we're gonna get them all flipped over and let them continue to cold smoke. Once we've got the color we want on this side, we'll bump the temps up to get them to around 150 degrees. That way they're fully cooked. Then we'll pull them and get them in an ice bath. But for now, they need to take on some more smoke. Roughly 2.5 hours after we flipped our sausages and they are done. Looking nice and plump, feeling firm. We bumped up the temp at the end in order to fully cook these right about 150 degrees. So now we're gonna get these in an ice bath. That is going to stop the cooking process because we were bringing them up in temp. We don't want any of that carryover. And it's also gonna help that casing really bind to the meat and give us that great snappy texture that we love. We're gonna let these hang out in the ice bath for around 10 minutes, just really long enough to fully stop the cooking process, make sure they're nice and cool and that casing is nice, snappy, and bound to the meat. And once that's done, we're gonna throw a few of these back on the pit, let them come back up to temp, and then dig in. After about 25 minutes on the pit, our sausages are thoroughly reheated and done. Nice and plump. So we're gonna let these rest, come down in temp a little bit, then it'll be time to eat. Sausages are looking great. We got a toasted bun in here because you know we've got to put one of these Philly cheesesteak sausages on a bun. Put it right in the middle and go on with a little cheese whiz. I know we've already got cheese in the sausage, but you can't have too much cheese, right? Then we're gonna come over the top with some sauteed sweet onions. That is one good looking sausage Philly cheesesteak sandwich. But as for the rest of these, let's slice into this one right here and see how we did. Got a really good bind on it. Got our cheese poking through right there, a little onion poking through. Nice, cheesy, oniony. Exactly what we were going for. Let's dig in. The time has come. It's time to eat our Philly cheesesteak sausage. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm gonna go with the little smaller piece right here that's got cheese and onion in it. Cheers. That's delicious. First time ever putting American cheese, white or yellow, in a sausage, and it plays very well. First time putting sauteed onions in a sausage as well, and it tastes fantastic. Get a great smoky flavor from the long cold smoke that we had too. The sausage casing has a nice snappy texture, but it's not too chewy. It's got that nice snap that we like. Let's just bite into this one, see how it sounds. My goodness, that's delicious. The burst of flavor that you get in a relatively simple sausage. It just had salt, pepper, garlic, white American cheese, and then onion in it. But man, it all plays together really, really nicely. This sandwich has been eyeballing me since I made it. I've got to give this a try. Wow, this is incredible. Sausage paired with a nice toasted bun, cheese whiz, and sauteed onions, unbelievable. There's nothing I don't like or I can critique about this. It's a combination I honestly probably never thought I would make, but it just works together incredibly well. The smoke of the sausage with all the cheese and the onions and the nice kind of soft bread to soak it up. You got to give this a try. It's phenomenal. Well, that's going to do it for this video. All in all, really, really enjoyed this sausage. It was simple from a seasoning perspective, but the addition of the white American cheese and the sauteed onions helped make it a Philly cheesesteak style sausage. And man, once we added it on a sandwich with the cheese whiz, the sauteed onions, took it to the next level. Don't skimp on this if you make this sausage. Make this sandwich, you'll be happy you did. Thank you for tuning in, and I can't thank Eric enough for having me on Celebrate Sausage Season 5. And if you like what I did here today, make sure to head on over to Swine and Bovine Barbecue and subscribe. But thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
That bite was ridiculous. Talk about a snap. I gotta be honest, the Philly cheesesteak is one of my all-time favorite sandwiches, maybe close to the Italian beef out of Chicago. And that sausage, looked amazing. Thumbs up this video if your mouth was watering when that sausage was coming off the grill, right? Big thanks goes out to Swine and Bovine for his contribution to Celebrate Sausage. I'm going to put a link to Drew's channel in the description box below and in the pinned comment. Be sure to head over there, give him a sub while you're there, especially if you're into outdoor Texas-style cookouts. Ribs, briskets, sausage, everything in between. Thanks a lot for watching this video. You can find a recipe for the Philly cheesesteak sausage in the description box below. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new here and you enjoy sausages, do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, because I really do think you're going to like what we got going down. In tomorrow's episode, we are going to be making what is quite possibly one of the most requested sausages that we've had to date. Be sure to stick around tomorrow to find out what it is. See you then. Bye-bye.